Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of RaceSpotTV Friday Prime Time. This time it comes at you from the land of the rising sun. It comes at you from the most famous racing circuit in Japan. It is Suzuka for the round number 8 of the VRS GT Sprint Series. My name is Connery Maddock. I'm joined as ever by the wonderful Stefan Schlacker for this 40-minute event here. And I certainly can't wait to get this one started. It is one of my favorite tracks ever. I think I've mentioned that about 15,000 times on different broadcasts over the years, but I certainly have very much an affinity for this one. As a track to drive on, sometimes the racing can be a little bit different, though. We'll get to see that over the course of this evening. Stefan, we're here at Suzuka, and well, we've got a little bit of an Audi party out there with a couple of Lamborghinis thrown in and just a handful of Porsches.
Yeah, really interesting that 2 weeks in a row we now have the Audi that is the dominant car on a track. So it really seems like this season is the Audi season as far as it comes to round 8. Still have 4 rounds to go. But with Suzuka we now have the 5th round where the Audi R8 GT3 car is most definitely the strongest around a lap.
Yeah, I think so too, but it'll be interesting to see what those Lamborghinis can do. There's a good handful of them here today. I count around 6 or 7 going to be taking the start of this race. Here we are on the calendar though, round number 8, deep into the second half of the season now. We've only got Barcelona, Bathurst, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or Motorsport for short. We've got the Circuit de la Sarthe at the very end of the season there as we head into December before our final patch of iRacing for the year. So that one's going to be an interesting one, but still a long way before that point though. We've got those handful of races to go. Qualifying is currently underway here at Suzuka in the VRS GT Sprint Series, and we can bring that one to you now. Qualifying here at Suzuka, it's always an interesting predicament. Of course, you're very much battling the track as a driver here. Here more than perhaps some other circuits, given the fact that this really does test the driver's skill, especially trying to get that perfect line through the first sector.
Yeah, Suzuka obviously started out as a test track for Honda, so it is unsurprising that it is most definitely a track that tests your skills. And let's be honest, qualifying, it weighs quite heavy here at the Suzuka International Racing Course because of how hard it is to pass your first sector, pretty much a no-pass zone up the S's. And then this hairpin right here where we see Jamie Fluke drive through right now with 2.5 minutes to go in this qualifying. That's the real first passing opportunity of the circuit. Obviously you can also send it into one of the S's or send it into the diagonal 1 corner, but it's just way too risky to make any clean passes. Then you have again the spoon, another passing opportunity right here, but once again tricky double apex where you really have to take all the outside curbs, swing it back in late apex and get early on the throttle, because this long straight down the second pit straight, as well as you can see here on the right side for the east course of this layout, it just is one hard passing zone after another. The real easy one that you have is right here, the Casio Triangle.
Yeah, and into the Casio Triangle, one of the big, overtaking opportunities down the inside there, as long as you get that perfect run through 130R. And then, well, Jamie Fluke, he decides to opt down on towards the pit lane, so not going to complete this qualifying lap. He's instead going to abandon it and bring it down in. The rest of the drivers continuing to set some times here. Luke Dowding stopping short of the line there. He's not going to be able to improve on his qualifying time. We have the driver of Nuno Henriquez. That's currently on the pole position for the moment in the number 5 Porsche 911 GT3R, and he still has another lap in hand here to go even faster than that.
So yeah, that number 5 looking very nice indeed. She's sitting in first place, but a 10th ahead of Michael Neumeier right now. And Yeah, it's not the first time we see Jamie Fluke not being on pole. We have seen it last time where he drove to perfection, just sitting behind, saving fuel, waiting for his chance to pounce at not Tsukuba, Motegi I think it was, and he most definitely made the best out of that.
Well, this lap is not looking too good, given that he's over 2 minutes already, heading his way in towards 130R. So this is not going to be a representative lap time for Nuno Henriquez in this one, but I don't think he really requires it at this stage, given that all of his closest competitors on that timing screen have all completed their qualifying laps here. We have Hugo Brandao currently heading his way through the final corner. He might be able to challenge us to 157 flat. It's a good lap time, but it's only just breaking inside of the top 10 there. 9th for the driver of the number 4 as we quickly draw this qualifying to a close here, Stefan.
Yeah, most definitely seems like everything is set in stone here, and it really bodes for a very great race start for the Indeed.
Here we go then, as we get that gridding procedure underway. Here is how they line up for this round at Suzuka of the VRS GT Sprint Series. Nuno Henriquez, pole position for the number 5. Fantastic stuff indeed. Michael Neumann is just over 1/10 of a second behind in second place. Jamie Fluke, the highest iRacing driver in this race. He'll start from 3rd place with Sven Hasse in 4th. We've got Fabio Univerdras there in P5 with Matthias Luxak in P6. Michael Dreschler in P7 with Leonardo Andrenucci in P8. Hugo Brandao in P9. Massimiliano Locatello starts in 10th place. He's been having some great performances over the course of the last 3 races, but he has some work to do there from P10. Xavier Ross in P11 with Fabio Rauber in P12. Alex Jeringa in P13 with Jay Hee Han in P14. Jacob Masajewski in P15 with Roman Fuchs in P16. P17 will be Matteo Figueiro, and we've got Patrick Vidovi in there in P18. We've got Matthias Gutzko in P19 with Tuan Tran P20, Lars Reinke in P21. We've got Mattia Fugolini in P22, Christopher Hyman in P23 with Luca Nadio in P24. Anthony Farrell starts in P25 with Niels Rokate in P26, Aurelien Vercher in 27th with Kindler in P28, and Dowding will line up in P29 here today. So it's a relatively full grid this time around in this split of the VRS GT Sprint Series. We're just about ready to get going. Of course, there they are. Drivers lining up on the back straight here. Stefan, pace car just rolling off. It gives you a very good opportunity just to make a quick point.
Yeah, be careful about that first lap. GT3 cold tires up the S's and into first corner. This can spell some trouble, especially in the latter stages of the field, because you will most definitely have a stack up, and those cars in behind, they will have a very big draft effect. So if they aren't careful, there might be some carnage lying ahead in their journey.
It might well be, as you see the drivers head their way into the Casio Triangle. Of course, short pace lap here at Suzuka to get things going. Nuno Henriquez in pole position. Michael Neumann in P2. Jamie Fluke, what can he do from 3rd place on the starting grid here? Pace car is in, field under the control of Henriquez now. He'll dictate when the start is. Some people trying to time the start at the very back. Let's see what happens then in this 40-minute event here at Suzuka as we get the VRS GT Sprint Series underway and charging down in towards turn number 1. Someone almost got put in the pit wall there in the mid-pack, but it's clean at the very front through turn number 1. And winding in towards turn number 2 now. Jamie Fluke ahead of Sven Hasse. The mid-pack looking pretty spicy at this stage as well, but no instance so far as everyone gets into the S's section for the first time. But if anyone's side by side through here, it could spell disaster.
Yeah, and we actually do have a little bit of disaster. Ye Han has been spun around. Not sure if it was by his own fault or if he got tapped around, but that's so far our only casualty in the starting period. As we look into replay, I have to say, with these guys trying to gauge the start of this race, it really did stretch the field a little bit, because people were accelerating and then slowing down again. Oh, and I think that looks most likely an self-made error for the 14.
Would have gotten tagged by the behind, but we won't find out because we do have to go back to the live pictures to see yet more action going on and yet more carnage actually through the hairpin. Multiple drivers involved in that one. Fuchs dropping down the order, Farrell, Brocate, all involved in this one. What has happened in the hairpin here? Because that was a big stack up amongst a good handful of drivers. Let's take a look at it in towards the hairpin, trying to decipher what exactly happened. Does it happen ahead of Brocate here? Does it happen behind him? It might happen ahead. Let's just watch this one right through. Yeah, there's a big stack up there with the 23 Audi almost getting spun around. That was Roman Fuchs that was involved in the initial incident. I won't say he caused it just yet, as we will wind it back just a little bit further to see exactly.
Yeah, it was actually caused by Matteo Frigerio, or maybe even the car behind. That was two and Tran, as they all stack up, and then the 23 gets spun around by Frigerio. A really weird incident right there.
A bit of a weird one. Everyone through relatively unscathed, though. There might be a bit of dents in the bumpers further down the field, but it looks like everyone has kind of survived that one, as we'll return to the live pictures, as it seems to be mad racing in the mid-pack at the moment. Cars going side by side ahead. That's Fabio Raura and Alex Dringa going wheel to wheel through the S's section. That's for 10th place, by the way. It looks like they're fighting for the race win. Not a 10th place, but more positions being changed behind. Masajewski and Locatello going wheel to wheel in their two Audis.
Yeah, most definitely interesting decisions are being taken right now by these drivers around this 10th place, because they were just 5 wide going down the pit straight as we were looking at the replay, and the 7 goes for a dive into the gravel.
Locatello out into the gravel, able to rejoin the racing circuit though. Let's take another look at that one. As here he comes with the wheel-to-wheel action. Of course, definitely not the fastest way to head through the S's. It does stack up traffic behind, and it can cause incidents like this coming up through towards Dunlop as well. The space gets a little bit too tight as the optimal line is contested in towards the first Degner, and forces Locatello to go wide, and well, there's a bit of contact as well.
Yeah, it looked kind of a little bit that Locatello did break on the grass there or something like that, because his car swung very harshly to the inside. Obviously that was still occupied by the car to his right. So yeah, a really interesting incident, and nonetheless looked like a self-made error once again.
It really did. As we head across the line then to complete lap number 2. On to lap number 3 of the event. Michael Neumeyer setting the fastest lap of the race so far. And, well, he's the guy in second place at the moment, getting a healthy amount of slipstream from the Porsche ahead of him. Someone's off in the background there. That is Fabio Unvadras there in the number 12 car. That's Lamborghini going a little wide through turn 1 and 2. And turn 1 and 2 here at Suzuka is pretty tricky here, Stefan, because you just swing it into that first corner, but you're also sort of braking and slowing down on and while still turning in towards turn number 2, which can be an issue. In fact, that wasn't anything to do with that. Whoa. It was just contact with the car on the inside.
Yeah, great safety though by the 12. That could have ended much worse. And as you said, that turn 1, it is such a weird corner. It is sort of off camera, but also not really. So you really have to attack that apex, because obviously you want to carry as much speed for the second turn as well. But at the same time, you really need to throw the anchor and have your car settled. So really properties that normally don't go very well together, turning and braking, while also needing to have that very stable car, because you still carry a boatload of speed around that corner, and it really is frustrating at times to get that perfect setup together and still be great at that turn 1.
I mean, we talked about this at the end of the last race, you know, with our expectations coming into this one, because it is a track of two sorts of philosophies to think about. Yes, you do want to have as little downforce and as little drag in the car to be able to go fast down the back straight into 130R, and of course fast down the pit straight to be able to make moves in towards turn number 1. But on the other hand, Stefan, you really do need to use that downforce in something like the S's section to be anywhere near the pace.
Yeah, exactly. So it's gonna be quite telling just looking at the battles, who is fast in the S's and who is fast down the straights, and you can already see right then what it's all about, the downforce levels these guys have. As Tran comes into pit lane, I wonder if that is scheduled, as we have about 7 minutes down the clock.
It would be a very, very early stop if so, but that's the decision that Tuan Tran has taken at this stage. As we look back towards that mid-pack then, because there's been our fair share of battles here in this one. Here's the ones for 7th place between Unvadrus and Xavi Ross at the moment. Just a handful of tenths of a second between those two on circuit at the moment. And of course, a bit of different philosophy of which lighting setup on the Lamborghini to go with. Either the endurance race lights or the regular just sort of sprint racing lights there, as it seems like Unvadrus has decided to light things up here a little bit.
Yeah, can't have enough lights if you're playing truck simulators, but it's not that good for racing. Good thing is, though, that you can't be blinded by the lights, so at least something that goes for the competition here.
Of course, but getting into a little bit more of a relaxed phase of the race. We had a pretty chaotic start, all things considered, especially in that mid-pack where they were trying to gain the track position early on, going wheel to wheel through the S's section, which is always quite interesting here at this race circuit. But it seems like the vast majority of people have survived that one. We have had, though, actually Tuan Tran's been on the pit lane for quite a while. Maybe that was just to come down towards the pit lane for a meatball flag or something. He might have had some damage because he hasn't come down off of pit lane just yet either. He will come out of his pit stall now, though. It's a 1 minute 28 second stop, though. That must be for some damage repair. But yeah, we've got, additionally to that, we've got 2 retirements. Anthony Farrell down in P29. He came down in for almost a 5-minute stop, but he got back out there.
I have to say, quite interesting that Farrell did decide to once again. Oh!
Who's got themselves a slowdown penalty? It's number 15. No, it's not number 15. It's number. It's a lapped car.
That was Tuan Tran, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that was lapped car getting out of the way. I thought it was a slowdown penalty through turn number 1, which you really have to be trying to get a slowdown penalty coming through there. But no, that was just a lapped car getting out of the way. It's not usually. It's not well normal to see lap traffic at this early stage of the race, due to just how the field tends to peak together. And but the thing is, some people come down in for repairs and then they become lap traffic with the trainer cars looking to come through on them. So that's what we saw there with Tuan Tran. 31 minutes left to go. Remember, everyone, we've got ourselves one scheduled stop over the course of this race. They will not take tyres in that stop. There's really no point in a 40-minute race to change the tyres. It is just getting the fuel in the car. And of course, in these cars, you cannot take the fuel and tyres separately, which is the vast majority of the reason why you don't take the tyres here. It's just extra time that you do not need on pit lane because it doesn't give you that much of an advantage in a race as short as this one. Nuno Henriquez still leading at the moment, though, trying to grow his gap to the car behind. Not successful so far, still stands at about half a second. Neumaier's keeping him in check, and Jamie Flukenhasser probably just saving fuel in this train.
One thing that I love about this right now is that we have a Porsche leading a Lamborghini, leading an Audi. We have 3 manufacturers in the top 3 right now. And, it's a little bit surprising that we actually see a Porsche up in front because, while yes, they do hold the fastest outright pace lap, race pace lap right now, it actually is the Audi the preferred car at this track for whatever reason. Still very great to see to have that Porsche up in front. Obviously, it can hold its own ground through the S. It's not as fast as the Audi around here. Obviously, the Audi loves to turn. There's nothing more an Audi R8 loves than to do that, except for probably spin out. But that Porsche can hold its ground, and don't forget, it has a lot of torque down low, so it can accelerate quite nicely out of these corners as well.
course, we're on board with the Lamborghini Huracan of Sven Hasse at the moment, as seems like we got some decent representation in terms of cars at the very front of the field. Although I'm seeing a driver drop down the order here. Fabio Unvadrus seems to have had an issue. He continues to hemorrhage positions on the way up into the hairpin now, so let's wind things back and see exactly what has happened to the driver of the number 12 car. I'm getting the feeling it's an issue through the Degners. Heavy over the first curb, completely unsettles it, pushes it a little bit wide, and sends it in a spin into the barriers there. And that's a little bit embarrassing for the driver of the 12. It's an unforced error, but it's one that's easily done coming up into that section.
Yeah, you said it right there. You're gonna see it right here, just too heavy over the inside curb, goes out there and then actually surfs on the outside curb. It's really easy to do that, even in GT3 cars, to surf up on that curb there, because it is heavily cambered, but the curb itself isn't, the artificial turf that is isn't, and so that's how you can easily surf up on that. And so the German sim racing driver, no chance to avoid that barrier.
Not a chance at all. 28 minutes left in this one. We've got, well, 6 laps in the books. Certainly very much more to go. We're estimating around about 21 laps to run here. Someone's had an issue here, as it looks like Michael Dreschler has had a problem through turn 1 and 2 here in the number 15, that Lamborghini Huracan GT3. So we're going to wind things back once again and take a look at this one. It seems like to be a lot of sort of solo problems here at this circuit. There's side-by-side behind him there, which won't factor into this one. But what's happened to Michael Dreschler here? Oh, sliding through the middle of 1 and 2.
Yeah, really easily to do here. Once again, a very slippery curb. That's all Michael Dreschler needed to spin his Lamborghini out there once again, just ever so slightly on that curb, drops the left side tires, and that's all the Huracan needed to wave its tail around.
Lots of solo incidents over the course of this event. It is a very, very tough track to negotiate, so you can forgive it somewhat. Of course, 1 and 2 is one of the big trouble spots. Of course, coming into the Degners is very hard to get right as well, because you just really don't have all that much margin for error. Either you're too close onto the inside onto the curb, or you track out too much of the first Degner and you find yourself in a little bit of gravel. That's how tricky it is. Same with the second Degner as well. So it's a very, very tricky track to negotiate, but that's what makes it so enjoyable, at least from my perspective. Here's your leading group of 4 cars, though. They have been since pretty much the very start of this event. Nuno Henriquez, then you've got Neumeier in 2nd place, Fluke in 3rd, and Hasse in the 4th place at the moment. And, well, all 4 of them are pulling away from the cars behind here. So it seems like these 4 are going to be the quartet that maybe challenge for the race win at the end of today, especially as their competitors seem to be having awful problems with turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, Mateusz Luszczak right there with another, I think, self-spin through turns 1 and 2. Actually, I think there was a little bit of target fixation, as we're also going to see Leandro Anderuti just ahead of him to have a bit of the same problems here. So Mateusz Luszczak goes into the right-hander, drops it once again on the curb.
It's exactly the same place as the Audi, just a lap ago, as the Lamborghini, excuse me, just a lap ago. Big trouble spot there into in the middle of 1 and 2, and well, you mentioned it a little bit earlier on there, Stefan, with the camber situation into turn 1 and 2, and the curb as well. You can't afford to get too much over onto that exit curb due to the fact that well, it just unsettles the car like we saw in the Lamborghini incident just 1 lap ago. But Mateusz Luszczak out here still. He's down to 8th place at the moment, very much embroiled in a pack at the moment. Alex Dringa ahead, Fabio Rauer behind. So he has a little bit of action before the first set of stops here, you'd have thought.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, obviously with him dropping all the way back to 26th position, Luszczak really, 9th position rather. Luszczak has his work cut out, but it's not far from over. He still can very nicely get back into this, as especially what is that, 8th and 7th aren't that far ahead of him.
Not at all. And, well, it doesn't look like he has any damage to that car whatsoever either. So let's see then how far he can get himself up through this pack at the moment, because you got Fabio behind him just flashing in the lights, but he has to be looking in his wing mirrors as well, because the Porsche of Brandau was having a look as well into turn 1. So got to be looking ahead and behind in these situations. We got our first sets of scheduled stops though. Our first first sets of scheduled stops here. Down in towards the pit lane comes Dreschler and Lars Reinke as well. So the 15 and number 18 coming down in just before the halfway stage. I'm expecting to, as we usually see in these sorts of races, Stefan, to see the vast majority of people decide to push the first stint out as much as possible. But we have seen these early stops work out in people's favors before. I'm just reminded of Suzuka.
Yeah, and especially with such a long track as we have here, that is Suzuka, with lap times nearly at the 2-minute mark, it actually can make a difference, because our field is still quite nicely packed together. Christopher Heimann, who is, actually I think he's out of the race now, was in 25th. Matteo Frigerio, 24th, only 37 seconds behind our leaders right now. So the field still very close together, even with many spins that we have seen thus far, and the great pace our top 4 dogs are laying to the ground right now. So they're especially down from the midfield. These undercuts can most definitely work as, Jamie Flug extremely wide there in 130R.
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of separation in the leading pack. Instead of a quartet, they're more like 2 groups of 2. As we are quickly heading towards the halfway point in this event. So we'll see how this one works out between all of these drivers involved. You do have to be conscious of Andrucci just a little bit further down the road behind them as well. Not a threat at the moment, but can certainly factor into things if these guys decide to fight amongst each other. I don't think they will do so before the final, or rather the only sets of stops that we'll have. But never say never in this situation. But having a look back towards that mid-pack now, of course, still as strong as ever. You got this multitude of cars for 7th place. During Lutzak, you've got Rauer there and Brandau involved. And you can also almost count Vidovi in this one as well, in the number 19 car. He has some work to do to try and lock onto the back of these guys, though, at the moment.
A little bit of flashing lights there from, I think that is Luchak there, or maybe Rauer in behind Tuan Tran, the number 20. Yeah, that is Fabio Rauer. So Tuan Tran right now in the middle of that pack, trying to do his own racing, while Lee's try to do their fighting. So a little bit of an awkward situation for the number 21. And you know, since we were on the car of Jamie Flug earlier, I have to say the number 1 just 2 laps ago, he did brush the wall ever so slightly out of the second Degner corner. So it is good to see that that number 1 car does not appear to have any damage to the left rear.
Yeah, doesn't seem to be the case. So that's a positive thing that you can take into this second half of the event now. But for those splitting the race 50-50, this is around about the time that you would want to come in. I'm not expecting too many to take the decision this time around. You can see most of the cars deciding to remain on the track for now, because the pit exit is just coming out of the, just before the final corner here, rather than the pit entry, and you can see no one deciding really to head their way in at this point. So this is what we usually see in this series, with drivers continuing to push that first stint out as long as is feasibly possible. It's especially beneficial if you're in a good position in one of these slipstream trains. You just might as well sit here and get all of that fuel saving done and look to try and get the jump inside that pit stop, due to having a bit of a shorter stop. Race lead's not separating out though. Henriquez and Neumeier still keeping each other in check, but the danger is here from Henriquez. How many times have we seen it, Stefan, over the course of this season? That leading car in the first portion of the race is not going to really get any opportunity to save any fuel and therefore will likely have the longer stop when we actually get to those scheduled stops. So usually the leader in the initial parts of the race is the one that has to be trying to make the passes in the dying moments to get back up into first place.
Yeah, especially with such long straights that we have here leading up to 130R and then also the pit straight. It is also quite easy to save fuel, although I'm not sure how much Michael Neumeier really is able to save fuel as he continues to make small errors that put him a little bit too far away from Nuno Enriquez. Now he's not in danger at all to lose Nuno up ahead, but it just makes him ever so more vulnerable to not being able to save fuel and having to push through these straights.
No takers from the front pair onto pit lane this time. No takers from the rear pair in this front of the pack battle. So top 4 staying out, vast majority of the top 10 choosing to stay out at this point. And again, this is normal behavior in a series such as this one. Of course, we did have some drivers take their early stops. We had Drechsler come down in. We had Reinke come down in as well. Tuan Tran came down in even earlier than those two, but that was more for damage than anything else. Here's another taker down on towards pit lane, though. Masajewski, number 10, coming down in for his pit stop service. So slowly but steadily seeing signs of people coming in, but it's maybe a little bit too early still for the vast majority, especially when we still have a very established mid-pack at the moment that really just do not want to give up the slipstream that they have to the cars ahead.
Yeah, I don't know right now. I think Masiewski was somewhere close to Drechsler actually when Michael Drechsler pitted. I could be wrong though, but Masiewski slots in between Drechsler and Reinecke, but the second 1.5 seconds ahead of Reinecke.
Yeah, overall, Jacob Masajewski still has a lot of work to do in this event. Of course, number 10 in terms of iRating, of course. So you can basically use your iRating in these these official series to sort of judge where you should finish, because the iRate, the car numbers given out by the iRating of all the drivers in the session. So if you have the highest iRating, you're number 1. If you're the second highest, you're number 2, and it goes down like that one if you're unfamiliar with the way things work on iRacing. And so you can use that to judge where you should be with the sort of power rankings in the race, so to speak. But right now, it is the number 5 that leads from the number 6, and the 1 and 3 are 3rd and 4th at the moment. And, well, these pairs continue to work their way around for the moment. Hasse making no statements with regards to trying to take P3. Neither is Neumeier when it comes to P1 as well. They're playing things very, very patiently at the moment. And, it's sort of the calm before the storm here, Stefan. There's a lot to potentially talk about, and not a lot to talk about right now, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it's all about the strategy right now, and as these guys run, especially Sven Haase, he can most definitely look quite relaxed into the future, because if it stays like this, even with the fuel-saving champ that is Jamie Fluke, I don't think he'll have much saying over that 3rd place once they come out of pit lane. Afterwards, the game is once again going to be on.
Yeah, seems to be the case. Coming up to 15 to go. Still, the vast majority of pit stops have yet to be done in this one. So, still lots of intrigue. Still things that can swap around before this race is done. I'm just waiting for the leaders to come in at this point, because those guys will get themselves, well, maybe a battle at the very end of this one. Let's just wait and see. Certainly hoping for it. Don't usually get too many crazy battles for the race win in this series. It'd be good to have one here at Suzuka, but good things come to those who wait, I suppose, as we see the number 12 and the number 27, Andovus and Woodsko. Woodsko closing in at this point, but remember, you just have that sort of scheduled stop hanging over you.
Yeah, so Unfadros and Wotchow there fighting for that 14th place. They are starting to really lose the back end of this big midfield pack that we have right now. So there's a side-by-side also in behind now for 16th place between Han and Verschere. I think Han in that Porsche aggressively cuts over the nose there of Aurelien Verschere. So that could have also ended a little bit badly, but the 14 was a very nice clear, and so they continued their run through the field. Obviously, the spinner on the first lap down in the snake. So very much ground has to be retaken once again up to 15th place now for them. And you know, it's really surprising that this big midfield pack from 6th all the way down to 13th place just isn't really splitting up. It still only is covered by 7 seconds, these drivers. So I don't know why we have this situation. Normally the midfield after the front separates, the midfield always is very fast at disintegrating into very small splitter groups. But for some reason these guys really have found their pace right there all together.
Does seem to be the case, doesn't it? Absolutely fantastic stuff. But 13 minutes left to go. It's only a matter of time before we see everyone, well, the vast majority of cars come down towards the pit lane for their scheduled stops here, because we still have 19 cars yet to have come down in. Everyone pushing out the first stint as much as is feasibly possible at this stage. And, well, it's just a case of who blinks first here in this one. Henriquez might be the first one to come down towards the pit lane because he's been sitting out front pretty much all day. So he'll be more marginal in the field compared to everyone else. Let's see what the decision is. Looks like he is hugging that inside, and in comes the race leader. Neumeier stays out, so do the pair behind.
That is early for Nuno. That is really early. 12.5 minutes to go.
It's early for this series, isn't it?
Yeah, normally you would see the pit stops to be at the 10-minute mark. So he's a lap early. I wonder if that's just how the field plays out. Now, I have to be honest here, I didn't have any time this week to actually do my own practice. I'm just going off the stuff that I have picked up from looking at practice sessions today and yesterday. But from what I've seen and what I've picked up from drivers' chat, that is a little bit early. However, a lot of drivers are coming in alongside Nuno to make their pit stop. So it seems like 12 minutes is the mark of the week today.
Lots more drivers coming down in. Look at how busy the exit of the pit lane is. Everyone pretty much deciding to come down in at this stage. And, well, they'll rejoin on the circuit. Rauer ahead of Verboy here. And, well, you've got yet more intrigue further back as well. Maciejewski in 15th place. Reinke and Indovus were side by side coming off the pit lane, but Reinke ahead at this point. So important to scare himself ahead of that entire situation. But 11 minutes to go. The front now 6 cars have decided to go at least that one extra lap. I would expect to see Neumeier down in this time. Henriquez, he did have a pretty slow stop. That's just because he wasn't able to save that much fuel out in the race lead. He was at 11.3 seconds, whereas for everyone who's saving fuel, it's more like 10.5 seconds.
Yeah, and also, by the way, I think we missed that. Sorry if we did show it and I just missed it, but also Sven Haase did get past Jamie Flug in turn 1 at the start of this lap. And that was just Sven Haase getting led by Jamie Flug as, oh, look at that! Sven Haase actually able to go 2 laps longer than your race leader. So the fuel strategy battle in full swing. Neumeier and Flug into pit lane. And Sven Haase another lap around. Now, where is Nuno Henriques going out of 130R right now? How is he going to play with those two in pit lane?
There is Nuno Henriquez heading his way through the triangle, swinging his way through the final corner. Of course, where is Neumeier? Neumeier is coming out of the pit lane now. There is Henriquez. It was a fast stop from Neumeier. It was 9.3 seconds. Haase might have to, rather, Henriquez might be fighting. Well, squeaks just ahead of Jamie Flug there, but that was a fantastic stop from the number 6 Lamborghini to be able to gain that much stationary on the pit lane. He gets himself almost 2 seconds ahead of Henriquez. which is a very healthy gap to have in the final 10 minutes. But where is Hasse going to come out in relation to all of this? Because he's been able to go this extra lap.
Yeah, it actually was also a slow stop by Jamie Fluke, so really, really interesting place right now for all of these guys.
Yeah, incredible. As we are watching on the onboard here with Sven Hasse, as he comes down the back straight here. It's going to be a very, very crucial stop for Hasse. We knew he came in ahead of Fluke, and with going one extra lap with Fluke, you would have thought that he'd be able to have a very, very short stop and remain ahead of Fluke at this stage. But never say never. He might even be able to challenge for the front two as well. Neumeier and Henriquez, depending on how well this stop goes for the number 3, swinging it onto pit lane now.
Don't mind the white car in the background. That was a lap car, Matteo Frigerio. That was, so he gets his lap back right now. Where is Michael Neumeier? Neumeier is now under the Advan Bridge, going into the Kasi Triangle now. So the way this seems, he might actually sneak out quite far ahead of Sven Hasse, because just judging off where Nuno Enriquez was once he was out of pit lane. So there we go, side by side now between Hasse and Neumeier, and it's easy snacks for Neumeier. Where is Enriquez? Enriquez actually gonna be right in behind, and he makes a mistake through turn 1 as well.
Oh, careful there, guys. The front 4 in very much a different order after the pit stop phase. It's Neumeier that leads this race from Hasse now. Henriquez, of course, having an awful pit stop phase, but I guess, you know, given the set of circumstances, I think he was always going to have a pretty bad pit stop phase due to the lack of fuel saving at the very front of the field. But I'm pretty sure he didn't expect to lose 2 positions, maybe just expected the 1. But with Hasse, with that great fuel strategy in the first stint, he's got himself into a great second place, and now within a second of the race lead.
Yeah, so very different shape. What can Sven Hasse do? Obviously a very great driver, very fast driver in that Lamborghini Huracan, but he has to fight with Michael Neumeier, and that can be a challenge in itself, as Neumeier always quite hard to pass. Also, by the way, our midfield, it has split it up a little bit now. Ross, Luchak and Barndao, they are now one group, and then there's the 1 car in between, that's Joringa, and then we have another 2-car group, another 3-car group, and that is right now how the midfield is standing. So it did split her up a little bit like it normally would be much earlier in the race, but fuel strategy and pit stop a shortage, so shortness has most definitely did split that up, these guys.
Yeah, there's the battle for 6th that you're seeing on the screen right now, as they head in towards 130R. So this is Xavi Ross, this is Matthias Luxak and Hugo Brandau looking to fight it out for that 6th spot. So it's the Lamborghini versus the Audi versus the Porsche. 3 different manufacturers represented in this particular battle. It is what you love to see. As you quite rightfully point out, Stefan, the mid-pack has been splintered out quite a bit due to the differences on the strategy here. So we're keeping track of multiple things here. We're keeping the track of this battle for 6th place. We're also keeping the track of the battle for the race lead and, of course, 3rd place as well. There's a lot to potentially happen here in the final 5.5 minutes. I'm all here for it, as Xavi Ross has to be on the defensive now to Luxak behind.
Yeah, obviously this is lots of fighting now between those two, especially with Mateusz Luchak. After his slow spin in turn 1, he wants that position back, which would just drop him 1 position away from where he was before the spin. Not going to get anywhere close to Leandro Andretti. So he is pretty much going to cement his way into 6th place if he can get past Xavi Ross. But once again, quite a hard driver to overtake in the dying moments of the race.
Indeed he is. Looking to the inside of Xavi Ross. Towards the hairpin. That's a hopeful move down the inside there as it's wheel to wheel for 6th place between these guys. The Lamborghini has the run off the corner. Lutzak chucking back inside the slipstream here. The Porsche of Hugo Brandau is also on the outside looking in to this battle as well. Another commitment potentially down the inside at Spoon Curve, but the gap's not available for Lutzak to stick that out. He's nose down the inside there. They might have to just wait and bide their time and maybe have another look in towards the Castillo Triangle, because it's another good run off the corner for the Audi right in the middle of this one. Lutzak, if he can nail the run through 130R, he might be able to have an opportunity on the brakes into the triangle, following as close as he can through the most dangerous left-hander in all of motorsports. Now into the braking zone for the Castillo Triangle. That Lamborghini still ahead, leading this pack through the final corner now. Of course, we do have to pay attention to the race lead as well. That is down to half a second, but these guys are giving us the show at the moment.
Yeah, most definitely. And also, we have another retiree, Michael Drexler, after incident through the snake last lap around. He had to retire his Lamborghini, so something happened there as well, as we're going to continue to focus on these guys.
Yep, we are, but I'm very conscious we might have to jump back to the race lead in case they get very close. But Xavier Ross holding on to 6th place with his life at the moment. Well, like his life depends on it. Lamborghini up against the Audi, and well, the Lamborghini's come out on top so far, but the Audis have been pretty strong over the course of this race, but none of them are in the top 3 at the moment, or even the top 4. So despite their popularity in this series, it seems like Lamborghini's more coming out on top here. But let's see if they'll do so in this battle. Into the hairpin they go. They got very close once again, but no commitments down the inside this time around. And look at how close the battle for the race lead's getting as well.
Yeah, they might even have a little bit of trouble now with Tuan Tran, though Tuan very nicely getting out of the way of everybody thus far once he was a lap car to them. So I don't think really it should be too much of a hold-up for Neumeier and Sven Hassett. Yeah, you said it, the Audi really nowhere right now in the top 10, and that just might be the over-rotation that Audi R8 LMS likes to have. Just that a Lamborghini Huracan, a much more stable platform, but still has that very quickness and swiftness through the turns.
2 laps to go. 2 laps to go as they head through turn number 1. This is going to get a little bit tense between the front two now, as the battle for 6th place still raging on. Here comes the run from Lutzak, the Porsche looking for a line behind with the weaving. The Lamborghini remains ahead into turn number 1, but he's overcommitted to it. That's a gift to Lutzak as he just sends it on the normal racing line, and he gets past there. Xavier Ross with the unforced error. He doesn't lose more than 1 position though. I'll count that as a blessing.
Yeah, Xavier Ross just too aggressive with his maneuvering down the front straight, and that's what he had to pay for the price. Loses 1 position to Mateusz Luszczak, so could have been worse. He didn't spin it out on the very slippery off-track tarmac, so good on him to at least keep that 7th place for now.
See, running on the back of Michael Neumeier. That gap has closed in. Sven Hasse doing all that he can to try and get himself ahead here and challenge the race leader. They're still fighting for 7th and 8th right now, by the way. Xavier Ross trying to hold back the charging Brandau in the 911 GT3R right behind him. We will have an additional lap to go, remember. These guys, you know, you can see the clock winding it down quite low, but we will cross at the line with with time left remaining, which will allow us to do another lap here. So Neumeier into the final complex then, and another lap to hold on to the race win. 20 seconds through the final corner. He can't park the bus and end the race early, not with Hasse.
Hasse's looking
that
hungry.
Close behind. Yeah, he is. He really is. Look at the slipstream that Hasse has coming down the pit straight here. He's going to have to commit to the outside in towards turn number 1 here on the final lap of the race. Neumeier on the inside holding on. Oh, it all gets a little bit sketchy in the middle of the corner. We've seen so many drivers spin it coming through that complex, but both of them keep it together for now. but we're final lap racing here at Suzuka, and Neumeier and Hasse, there's nothing between them.
Yeah, so the two DH drivers are gonna fight it out for the win. Nuno Henriquez just too far away in his Porsche 911. So the two Lamborghinis fight for all the glory here in the land of the rising sun.
Into the Degners for the final time. The two Lambos. We thought it was going to be an Audi party here today, but the handful of Lamborghinis that we've had in this race has seemed to have the lion's share of the luck and the performance. Into the hairpin, no opportunity available for Hasse into there. He's got to be thinking now, maybe last opportunity, spoon corner, maybe a good run through 130R and into the triangle for the final time. Those have to be the two locations where Hasse makes this pass now, unless he's ballsy enough to be able to make a move into 130R. He goes deep on the brakes into spoon. Of course, no gap through there just yet, as now he'll wind through the exit, make sure that you can carry the momentum through and maintain the slipstream all the way towards 130R. As we ride on board then with Sven Hasse, what's the decision? It's going to be a race winning or a race losing decision here for the driver of the number 3 Lamborghini. In towards the Cassia triangle for the final time. A commitment around the outside for Hasse. He's not able to get himself alongside as they go through the final couple of the apexes of the lap here. Neumeier has been able to hold on to this one under immense pressure from Sven Hasse. Michael Neumeier wins here at Suzuka in the VRS GT Sprint Series. He brings it to a stop at the pit box and takes the tow back to pit lane. Everyone else further behind coming through right now. Xavi Ross has had a problem. Xavi Ross, oh no, he's messed up in the braking zone in the Cassia triangle in the dying moments of the race, and now he's just trying to serve a slowdown penalty and not lose too many positions here. Fugolini's bearing down on him, but Fugolini won't get there. He's concerned about Nadeo behind as well. But what a crazy finish, Stefan.
Yeah, what a crazy finish indeed. I wonder what happened to Xavi Ross, as he did drop a little bit already behind Luchak. So maybe once again a self-made error, and one of the most costly ones we have seen. So through 130 are just too early on the apex, all the way on the artificial turf, and then loses it in some manner.
That's a big impact with the tyre barriers there. No one else getting collected in that one, thankfully, but it's a bit of an embarrassing one for the number 9, as he'll have to take the trip across the line and finish in 11th place here in this race. We do have to quicken up the post-race show here due to other commitments, but let's have a look at our race results then. Michael Neumeier, after a fantastic final lap under so much pressure, wins over Sven Hasse. You got Henriquez, who was leading early on, but the pit stop phase did not work in his favour. Jamie Fluke with a respectable 4th place finish here today, with Leonardo Andrutti in P5. Michael Lukczak in P6, with Hugo Brandau in P7, and Dringa in P8, Rauer in P9, and Verboy in P10 here today. Outside the top 10, Ross, Fugolini, Nadeo, Masajewski, Reinke, Unvadrus, Verscher, Hahn. We got Kindler and Woodsko rounding out the top 20 cars here in this one, as we'll get our results back. There we go. Outside the top 20, we got Dowding, Figuerio, Tran, Fuchs, and Dreschler as we get into the retirements. We got Farrell, Hyman, Brocate, and Locatello rounding out the 29 cars classified. Well, that was a bit of a heart-racing, final couple of laps there, Stefan. We couldn't have asked for anything more here at Suzuka. Certainly one of the more exciting races we've had this season.
Yeah, and most definitely can only hope that for next week, as well as we head into the Iberia Peninsula circuit, the Barcelona Catalunya. Most definitely one of the more boring race tracks to race at, but with GT3 racing, you never know what might come your way.
Absolutely. That is all that we're going to have time for here today in the VRS GT Sprint Series here at Suzuka. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for this one. We do, of course, have to cut the... we'll get that music down. We do have to cut the post-race short here, but of course we're going to be here same time, same place next week for round number 9. You certainly don't want to miss it because we are heading to Circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia. We'll see you then.